the prison. That could be your aim, for example, but then your objectives need to be specific and explaining how you're going to do it. So what are some of the methods that you're using? What exactly are you looking at in terms of prisons that allow us to understand this? So explain a little bit better why this is important as well. So what do you think, some of the ideas that you have, what do you think that the Western prison can teach us? Or how can we use it as an example for the Chinese prison? So specific things, A, B, C, D, and explain it in the introduction.
Okay.
Okay? And try to maybe stay away from design proposal statements. So make it more like a theoretical investigation rather than a design proposal, because your dissertation shouldn't be a design proposal. It should be more like answering questions. Are you doing something similar for your design, for your thesis? No. Okay, that's fine. So maybe putting forward the development direction of prison construction in China in the future is a bit too optimistic. It's a bit too much for a dissertation for 10,000 words. Okay? So you could have suggestions, you could have a discussion, but you don't want to have a design proposal per se, or you don't want to talk about it as a design project, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? So already looking into analyzing the Western prison and comparing it to the Chinese prison and making conclusions, that's already enough. That's already a lot for one dissertation. Okay?
In the conclusion, let me think about I make the suggestion about which type of the prisoner should go to which type of prison. And I divide into three prison. The first one is open prison, and then it's a traditional prison in China, and the last one is the new prison, something like not in the architecture, through the mobile phone or other way to control a person.
Okay.
So I think this can. Do you think it can be the conclusion here?
I would say that this is another chapter, because the conclusion is basically a summary of what you discuss in the dissertation. So the conclusion should include
all the things I talk about.
All the things that you talk about, exactly.
Okay.
So this could be like a chapter 5, and then you'll have another one that says conclusions. Okay? I guess you could talk about suggestions if you find it appropriate, but keep in mind that the prison system has a lot to do with legal and judiciary systems in a particular country. So it's not only about architecture, it has to do with the entire governmental legal system of the country. So think about, how does that architecture relate to the legal system itself, and how does one affect the other? Because the architecture of the prison doesn't exist in a box. It's always connected, and there are other factors affecting it. And make sure you make those things clear in the introduction. So in the introduction, it should be clear what you're doing, why you're doing it, why it's interesting, and why it's important. Okay? So expand on these ideas a little bit. What does it mean to have a better understanding of the layout? What does it give us? Why do we need to compare the Western with the Chinese prison? What are some of the things that you expect to find out? Okay, so make sure you talk about that in the introduction.
Okay.
Okay? In terms of methodology, the methodology has to relate to some kind of theory
Okay.
that you're using.
No. Which means the theory.
So from the books you're reading,
Yeah, I have read some book, but how to use a theory in the dissertation?
so you get the ideas or the concepts from the theory and you use them to analyze the findings. You use them to analyze the data that you find.
No, I still can't understand how to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to explain in one.
Theory.
To bring you up to date, who study public life in China? You know, the stories that come out of it, that we put on film.
So Michel Foucault, for example, which
Yeah.
I saw that you have a quote from him,
Yeah.
he analyzes prisons or the prison system from a theoretical perspective.
Yeah.
So he looks at the system of control
Yeah.
and how that translates to the architecture of the prison. And he refers to the prison as a panopticon.
Yeah.
So the prison as a circular or kind of a orthogonal layout
Yeah.
where you have a central observer,
Yeah.
and that central observer has a view of the entire prison, and that's a form of control.
Yeah.
So that's one way of taking the theory and analyzing the architecture through the theory.
Okay.
So what I suggest is in the theory, focus more on Foucault, on his analysis,
Okay.
okay? And look at how he talks about the prison
Okay.
and form of punishment.